Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. The most recent news that the Laken Riley Act passed in the House is the most evident sign that the tides are turning. Things have already turned around exponentially because of Trump's executive orders on day one. And of course, it's going to take time for us to see the effects of these executive orders, to see them in action, and to see some real change. Change will come quicker for some areas of concern than others. But now we can be hopeful, and even Democrats supported this act. So we had Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, John Fetterman, who appears to be a bit more based these days, Ruben Gallego, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire. Some of these Democrats are up for re-election, so obviously they're going to tread carefully. But clearly this bill was so important to them that they were willing to do simply what is right. John Ossoff, for example, he's up for re-election next year, but he actually represents the state where Laken Riley was murdered. Her life was taken brutally at the hands of an illegal immigrant, somebody who should not have been in this country, but also somebody who should never have been allowed to travel to her state because he committed crimes in New York City. Multiple crimes, including endangering a minor, traveling with a 3-year-old on a motorcycle, I believe, but also committed theft crimes. And this bill simply says that if somebody who's here illegally commits a crime in your state, you need to detain them. They should not be let out and free to travel around the country. They let this person out and said, come back at such and such date. Do you think these people come back? Of course not. So he went on to continue his reign of terror and brutally took a life of an innocent nursing student who fought for her life for 18 minutes. Yet we have some Democrats who are taken up for this person. We have people who are more concerned about this bill making illegal immigrants look bad than the fact that it's there to save lives. Let's not forget, one of the few occasions, I think it was maybe 2 times, where Joe Biden was confronted on his reckless policies that directly led to the death of Laken Riley. What was the interviewer's biggest concern? Referring to the monster who took her life as an illegal.
Response to her heckling of you, you used the word illegal when talking about the man who allegedly killed Laken Riley.
An undocumented person. And I shouldn't have used illegal. It's undocumented. And look, when I spoke about the difference between Trump and me, one of the things I talked about on the border was that the way he talks about vermin, the way he talks about these people polluting the blood. I talked about what I'm not going to do, what I won't do. I'm not going to treat any of these people with disrespect.
That was their main concern. How dare you refer to this person as an illegal? So this is a very simple bill that simply applies common sense, that simply encourages states to follow the law.
The House has just passed the Laken Riley Act. This was a bill, of course, that was named after the nursing student who was killed by an illegal immigrant while jogging on a trail at the University of Georgia's campus. Let's get to Chad Pergram. He's got the very latest on that for us live from the Hill. Hi, Chad.
Sandra, good afternoon. Well, this is the first legislative action by the Republican House of Representatives. They just passed the Laken Riley Act, as you alluded to. The vote on the House floor, 264 to 159. There were 48 Democrats who voted yes. When they passed this bill in March of last year, there were 37 Democratic yeas, so this goes up a little bit. This bill would mandate detention for illegal immigrants arrested for minor crimes. We do expect this to go to the Senate. There's bipartisan support for this in the Senate. John Fetterman, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, he has signed on to this bill as well. In the past hour or so, we've learned that Gary Peters, the Democratic senator from Michigan, who faces a challenging re-election bid in 2026, he has also signed on to this bill. Now, Republicans, they promised that they would crack down on the border. That was one of their big campaign promises last fall.
But of course, we had the ridiculous meltdowns with people defending the indefensible as per usual. The usual suspects, such as AOC.
We stand here just 2 days after President Trump gave unconditional pardons to violent criminals who attacked our nation's capital on January 6th. And these are the people who want you to believe, who want us to believe that they're trying to, quote unquote, keep criminals off the streets. When they are opening the floodgates. I want the American people to know what is in this bill. Because in the guise and in the wake of tragedy, we are seeing a fundamental erosion of our civil rights. In this bill, if a person is so much as accused of a crime, if someone wants to point a finger and accuse someone of shoplifting, they will be rounded up and put into a private detention camp and sent out for deportation without a day in court, without a moment to assert their right and without a moment to assert the privilege of innocent until proven guilty. Without being found guilty of a crime, they will be rounded up. That is what is inside this bill, a fundamental suspension of a core American value. And that is why I rise to oppose it. If you're a dreamer, all someone has to do is point a finger and you will be rounded up. And we have seen moments like these happen before. In the Patriot Act, in the wake of the travesty of 9/11, a fundamental suspension of American civil liberties. That is what we are seeing here today. Mr. Speaker, you may wonder why so many of our friends across the aisle who care so deeply about the rule of law happen to be so desperate to pass this bill, after they are unleashing people who attacked police officers here on this Capitol into roaming our streets, who are publicly saying now they want to get a gun. Suddenly, these folks care about public safety? I don't think so. Look no further than the price tag of this bill, $83 billion. They know that it can't be paid for. They know that the capacity is not there. And you know what will be there? Private prison companies are going to get flooded with money, who give this money, no doubt. I want folks at home to look. Look at what members of Congress are invested in private prison companies who receive this kind of money, and look at the votes on this bill. It is atrocious that people are lining their pockets with private prison profits in the name of a horrific tragedy and the victim of a crime. It is shameful. It is absolutely shameful.
I wonder if AOC has spoken about the terrible, heinous crime committed against a woman on the subway. Has she even uttered her name, Sabrina Quam? She goes off on a tangent about private prisons and dreamers. You shouldn't let these people who have committed crimes go free and then go on to another state to commit more crimes. And we're talking about people who are here illegally. We're not talking about Americans. If I travel to Saudi Arabia, am I allowed to go on about my constitutional rights? How dare you say that I'm not allowed to do this in public? This goes against my constitutional rights? No, I have to follow their laws. I have to follow their rules. I can't go there breaking the law. And guess what? All countries have borders, by the way.
Enough is enough. It will separate families. It would lead again to continued discrimination. It's shameful that my colleagues are giving in to racist fear-mongering at the first opportunity to pass legislation to scapegoat our immigrant neighbors and fuel hate in our communities. I know what's going to happen. It won't just be undocumented. It'll be people like my mother who will get stopped and profiled. She has to carry her U.S. passport around? Are we asking people allowed to have documentation? That's what you want to turn our neighborhoods into, is militarization?
I yield the gentlelady an additional 30 seconds.
Gentlelady is recognized.
I just ask all of you to truly understand what this will do to our communities. I urge our colleagues to please vote no on this divisive bill. And it's so important to understand what you're going to turn our communities and our neighborhoods into. We can't allow that to continue to happen.
All these people continue to do is sympathize with criminals, make excuses for criminals, make excuses for reckless policies that literally endanger the lives of Americans, including legal immigrants, by the way, many of whom are against the open borders and voted against opening the floodgates, because that's exactly what the Democrats did. And she knows it, AOC. She's well aware of that. That's why when Kamala was on The View And she said that she wouldn't do anything different. She wouldn't change a thing. That was the death of her campaign. Because at the time, people were very concerned about what she did concerning the border of her and Biden. She said she wouldn't change a thing. She would do the exact same thing, right? People weren't going for that. Even Democrats, liberals, plenty of people who didn't understand why we were not having the basic protections at our border.
Hey everyone, just walked off the floor right now, voted for the Laken Riley Act. I'm a co-sponsor of that bill. As you know, it passed the House, it went over to the Senate, had minor technical changes and back to the House, so we passed it. It's on its way to President Trump's desk, and this will likely be his first bill to sign as the 47th president. A great way to start to deliver on the promises that we ran on. Happy to be a co-sponsor of the bill and to see it all the way through.
You're lying. You're a bad liar. I'm not kidding. Swear. You. I see it.
In real life, people are facing and suffering from the consequences of reckless policies that come from these sanctuary cities. They refuse to deport anybody, even when they commit crimes. That has had a direct effect on people's lives. And there are many families in mourning at the moment. And the Democrats have blood on their hands. It's as simple as that. But they still continue to defend the indefensible.
Mr. Klein, I want to thank you for representing the Laken Riley bill here today. This could have been named after any one of hundreds of people, unfortunately. This is not a singular occurrence. It is named after one person, but unfortunately, this happens every day in the United States. And these other countries, they're emptying their prisons. They are sending people out of the country. They're taking care of a problem and creating problems here. And it's, the president says there's nothing he can do about it. That is just a big lie, unfortunately. But to anybody who believes that there's nothing he can do about it, here's a bill that gives us even more tools.
So we just left the Senate chamber, which is where we passed this bill on Monday. If you look down the hall, these are the doors to the House chambers, kind of all the way down. That's where the bill goes today. So it's exciting. On Monday, we made this bill even stronger. We added Senator Ernst's amendment, which is Sarah's law. It's to honor Sarah Root, who was killed 9 years ago by an illegal alien who was drunk driving with a blood alcohol level of 3 times what it should have been. We also added Senator John Cornyn's amendment that adds assault of a police officer to the list of crimes. So we're excited to send this even stronger version of Laken Riley Act over to the House, where it'll receive final passage today. So that happens at 4:30, and then after that, we send it to President Trump's desk, and we're going to make sure that America is stronger, America is more secure, and that we're doing good things to actually achieve results for each of you. So tune in.
Speaking of assaulting police officers, remember the one case with the guy comes out of court giving people the finger, as Michael Rappaport said, like Tupac.
The other day in New York City, 6 illegal aliens jumped a New York City cop, NYPD's finest. They jumped a New York City cop in Times Square and were arrested and released without bail. I know it's a city thing. I know it's a state thing. I know all that. I know all that. Okay? Stay with me. Released without bail. Came out of the courtroom on some Tupac raising the middle finger with the Detroit Red Wings jersey. Let me tell you something. What the is the world coming to? If you could be from another country, beat up a cop in New York City and walk out with no bail, what the is the world coming to?
Coming out there, fingers up in the air, a big F you to everybody, after he assaulted a police officer. And what happens? He was let go, told to come back at a certain time. So what, he can go to other states and commit crimes? People kicked up a lot of fuss because it spoke volumes that these people come here and clearly they're given the message that they are above the law because they're in these sanctuary cities with soft on crime policies that refuse to report them to ICE. even when they commit crimes. Thankfully, this bill will put an end to that.
It's the Laken Riley Act, and what the Senate did, they took the bill and rewrote it a little bit and added assault of an officer, police officer, which is a good thing. It'll make it so we don't have another bill, and we can just pile it all under that, which saves us a lot of time. I think it's a great idea. Several Democrats, of course, voted against it. Whatever. That's why Trump's in the White House, really, because they're sick of this stuff. America is, and they should be.
So people like those radical Democrats, they want you to believe that this is an anti-immigrant bill, not even an anti-illegal immigrant bill, just an anti-immigrant bill. And that even Americans who are brown, black, could be subject to this bill, taken off and detained without due process. This is what they wanted people to believe.
I think at the end of the day, if you don't commit a crime, the Laken Riley Act, you're not subject to it. So I think we should start there. I think Democrats have to wake up and realize that Americans are sick of excuses and they're ready for action.
And to talk about J6 and the recent pardons while being silent about Biden's recent pardons, and to be silent about the police officers who lost their lives and were shot and severely injured during the BLM riots. I mean, didn't AOC champion that whole thing? Encourage it? To get off your high horse. All of a sudden they care about police officers.
I support the Laken Riley Act, and I support the Laken Riley Act because Laken Riley should be alive today. And she would be alive today if it hadn't been for the Democrats and the Biden administration that ripped our border open and allowed this illegal alien monster to come into our country. And then in the state of New York, when this monster was arrested for committing crimes, the Democrat state of New York let him go. And that's how he came down to Georgia and murdered our Laken Riley. This is a bill that cannot get passed enough, and I'm so thankful that the American people overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump so that we can sign this bill into law, and it can't happen fast enough. Thank God. But listening to my colleagues, the Democrats on the other side of the aisle, complain and whine and defend illegal aliens that break the law the minute they cross our border is pathetic.
Where's all the missing children lost during the Biden administration? Didn't care about keeping families together then, huh? Well, you made everyone walk around with papers to show they were experimentally medically vaccinated for 2 years. If they didn't have them, they would be denied from any service or experience they wanted as a result. Pick a side, Rashida Tlaib. And of course, because of the media's propaganda, because people aren't paying attention, there are many who don't even know about this act. But they will go on about how mean the Republicans are towards migrants.
We're here to defeat Donald Trump and his fascist movement.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
How do you plan to defeat him in the fascist movement?
Yeah. I mean, Donald Trump has stated that, like, on day one, he's going to carry out mass deportation and to pardon January 6th, like, rioters. And we, especially the Laken Riley bill, is an immigrant bashing bill that has to be defeated now. And I think that we must take mass action to stop like these ICE terror in our community, and we want to raise wherever we are in our community, we have to build defense guard against ICE raids and deportations.
Do you know who Laken Riley is?
When I read it, I kind of retained the information, but I didn't retain.
I think she was killed by a guy that was an illegal immigrant.
Huh?
I think she was killed by a guy that was an illegal immigrant. That's part of the reason this bill is a big deal.
Yeah, I think that might have been the case. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, are you supportive of measures to, protect the border from criminals and people like that?
I mean, I think that has been like a really right-wing rhetoric. Crimes happen everywhere in the world and in any community. And to paint a picture that illegal immigrants are coming in to be terrorists and criminals, that's just plain racist. And so we are for open borders and for citizenship rights for all with or without papers.
So open borders, unrestricted immigration, shouldn't matter who you are?
Yes, exactly.
Not living in the real world, not living in reality, and completely oblivious to the consequences of these reckless policies that literally allow criminals into the country A lot of these crimes were committed by people who committed crimes in their country, straight out of prison into the US. And I guess they think that's okay. And the people who end up losing their lives as a result are just collateral damage to these people. As long as they can continue to push their political agenda, they don't care. Very, very sad. But thankfully, common sense has resumed. All countries have borders. It's not racist to apply the law at the border. It's not racist to make sure that our borders are secure. And I would like to ask, where is the compassion of these radical leftists when it comes to people such as Laken Riley, Rachel Mooring, 12-year-old Jocelyn Noragay, Debrina Quam? The list is endless. Where is your compassion towards the family members who have lost people? So perhaps now we will see more American First policies that will actually benefit everybody. When you're walking around the streets, when you're on the subway, and you feel safe, you can't put a price on that. That is something that everybody should be striving for, regardless of your politics. Because if you're not safe, what do you have? So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.